The coffee maker gurgles behind you, and your phone lights up on the counter. 6:51 a.m. The direct deposit lands before you've even poured your first cup. $1,980. 44 cents. You glance at it once, feel that small lift in your chest, and go back to pouring. You don't open the app again. You don't need to, because somewhere behind that one glance, a decision has already been made about where this money is going. A decision you never actually sat down to make. By the time you're dressed, it's already started spending itself. The rent has claimed its share, so has the credit card, so has that thing you've been telling yourself you'll finally pay off this month, the same way you told yourself last month. It's not even 7 a.m., nothing has left your account yet, and somehow the number already feels smaller than it did when it landed. That's the part nobody warns you about. On payday, the money starts disappearing before it's gone. You pull into the lot at work and cut the engine, and that's when Dion, from 2 desks over, swings into the spot beside you in a brand new Tesla, the tires still shining from the dealership. Same job title as you, roughly the same pay. You don't ask, he doesn't say, but the math runs anyway, quiet and automatic, the way it always does when someone else's life looks a little more finished than yours. Inside, the day moves like every other day. Someone brings donuts. You grab one without thinking. $0. Except it's never really zero. It's just money you didn't have to hand over yourself. At lunch, you tap your card for the usual and don't look at the total. It's fine. It's always fine. One transaction at a time. It's only at the red light on the drive home that you finally open the app. $1,291. You stare a second too long. Not because the number's wrong, but because you can't actually account for where a few hundred of it went. And rent hasn't even pulled yet. It wasn't one bad decision. It wasn't the donut or the tacos or the coffee sweating in the cup holder. It's that the second the deposit hit, your brain had already spent it, filed it as available before you made a single real choice. The light turns green, and the real question was never how much you make. It's what your money's already spending itself on before you've decided anything. So that Saturday, you finally do the thing you've been avoiding for weeks. You sit on the couch, laptop open, bank statement pulled up, and you actually look, line by line, instead of just watching the total shrink and guessing why. 2 columns. Nothing fancy. One you're calling needs. The other you're calling everything else. Rent is easy. $1,380 a month. Needs. Groceries, easy. About $600, needs. Then you hit the first subscription, the streaming service you added during a slow week 2 winters ago, and your cursor hovers before you drag it, quietly, into everything else. Then the next one, then the one after that. By the time you're done, you're staring at 7 of them. $71 a month for shows you can name maybe 2 of. And it's not just the subscriptions. It's the $14 lunches you grabbed because the fridge was empty and you didn't feel like thinking. The ride home you took in the rain, instead of the 10-minute walk. None of it looks like anything on its own. That's what makes it invisible. A 5 here, a 12 there, never big enough to notice, until you line up a whole month of them, and the number staring back is real. Then you do the math you didn't want to do. Rent, groceries, utilities, the actual bare cost of staying alive and housed. It comes out to a little under half of what lands in your account. You exhale. And it surprises you how much that one number changes everything. Because now you know the other half isn't vanishing into thin air. It's going somewhere you can name. 7 subscriptions, a rainy day ride, lunches you bought out of tiredness, not hunger. Casey's Tesla was never the problem. The problem was, you'd never once drawn the line between what keeps the lights on and what doesn't. 3 weeks later, your car makes a sound it's never made before. A low grind every time you brake. And your stomach drops before you've even reached the shop, because you've seen this movie. Something breaks. The number's bigger than you expected. You spend 2 months paying it off on a card charging you 20-something%. The mechanic, a soft-spoken guy named Sam who's worked on your car for years, wipes his hands and says rotors, like it's nothing. Then he says the number, $380. You brace for the familiar dread, the math about which bill moves, which card absorbs it. Except this time, the dread doesn't come. You open your banking app right there in the waiting room, and there it is, a high-yield savings account you opened 3 weeks ago and almost forgot about. $1,000, sitting quietly. You move 380 out, pay Sam, and drive home on brakes that don't grind. No crisis, no panic. Just a number moving from one account to another like it was always meant to. It hadn't felt like much when you started. You'd moved $150 in that first Saturday, almost embarrassed by how small it was. But it was a decision instead of a hope. And that was new. More than half the people in this country couldn't have covered that 380 without a card or a loan. You'd been one of them for years. Not because you were careless, but because it had all just been one blurry pile that ran out by the third week. This account isn't that pile. It's separate, untouchable. Not for the shoes on sale, not for the trip everyone's posting about. For exactly this, the shield held. Which brings up the debt you built before you had one. That week a coworker gets engaged, and you catch yourself scrolling her photos late at night. The ring, and beside it, a designer bag that costs more than your rent. You have a card with room on it. You do the math before you decide to. Nobody would know until the statement came. Here's the part that stops you. You open the card's app instead of the shopping tab. And there it is, where it always sits. 23.99%. The number you've scrolled past 100 times without letting it land. Whatever you charge tonight doesn't cost what the receipt says. It costs that, plus roughly a quarter of it again every year it goes unpaid. You pull up both your balances side by side. One's smaller, 700, low interest. The other's bigger, 3,100, and it's the one bleeding you at 24%. Knocking out the small one would feel good, that little rush of a zero. But the math says the big one is the one actually costing you money every single day. So you send the extra toward that one instead. The boring, correct, unglamorous choice. $75 more than usual, aimed at the balance that's actually hurting you. No bag, no regret in a month. You put the phone down, and the room's the same as it was. You just didn't make it worse. Then October comes, and HR sends the email you've deleted unread for 2 years. Open enrollment. This time you open it. Buried in the third paragraph, the company matches every dollar you put in your retirement account, up to 5% of your pay. You've been putting in zero for 2 years because the form looked complicated. You do the math on a sticky note. 5% is a real number, and the match is that same number, handed to you, doubled before it's even invested. You've never once been offered free money by an adult with a job title. You bump your contribution to 5% before you can talk yourself out of it. That night your dad mentions a Roth account like it's obvious, like everyone has one. You don't. Whatever grows in there, he says, you never pay tax on again. Not now, not in 40 years. You don't have thousands to spare, you have $50 a week, and for the first time, that feels like enough to start with, instead of too small to matter. You open it that night on the edge of your bed, still in your work clothes. $50 goes in. No fireworks, just a number in an account you didn't have yesterday. But you let yourself do the math once. What a couple hundred a month becomes if you keep this up until 65. Something close to 7 figures, if the market does what it's always done. What stays with you isn't the number, it's the order. The match first, because turning it down was turning down money already yours. The Roth second, because 40 years of no taxes is worth more than it sounds on a Tuesday night. And whatever's left, someday, into something boring that tracks the whole market instead of betting on one piece of it. A few weeks later, it's a Friday night at your cousin's place, and he's talking about the watch he financed over 12 months, because it's basically free if you don't think about it. You nod. You don't say that you know exactly what don't think about it costs, because you almost did the same thing, months ago, over a bag nobody's wearing tonight. You get home after midnight, and you don't check your accounts. That's the part that's different now. Payday was 2 days ago, and you did nothing on payday at all. No transfers, no math, no 15 seconds where your brain tried to spend it before you decided. It just happened without you. The bills account already had what it needed. The savings already took its cut. The retirement account already took its 50. You set it up once, on a tired Tuesday night, and now it runs. Whether you're paying attention or not, whether you're exhausted or distracted, or watching someone else show off a watch. You get into bed and you don't reach for the phone. There's nothing to check, nothing to move, nothing to decide. The version of you whose thumb used to hover over the banking app before he was even awake wouldn't recognize this feeling. Not because the paycheck got bigger. It didn't. Because the 15 seconds that used to decide everything don't get a vote anymore. The number still lands the same way every 2 weeks. Quiet. What changed is you. Somewhere tonight, your money is already moving, already becoming something, while you're busy living instead of managing. The only question left is what you'll notice the next time your phone buzzes at 6:51.